In the beginning was Daytona.
Here we go.
The birthplace of speed, the launch pad of legends, the great American race.
Oh, they're in the wall.
It's always been,
Keep digging, stay in the gap.
and will always be, the proving ground for greatness.
Let's go, boys.
Every driver looking to be remembered, every fan looking for something they'll never forget. Secure your seats now at Daytona500.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you from our Tuscaloosa studios. Glad to have you along as we preview what's coming up this weekend during a busy weekend of Alabama athletics here at the Capstone. We'll go through everything coming up on the show thanks to our friends at RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us this smart board to go through not only what's coming up, but our headlines in a very interactive way. We'll start the show by talking baseball. Tomorrow is opening day for the Alabama baseball team, and the first game is head coach for Rob Vaughn, so he joins us for an exclusive one-on-one conversation previewing Alabama baseball. Speaking of exclusive conversations, we have that coming up the rest of the way. Aaliyah and I from women's basketball talking about her great play recently as she continues to lead the SEC in three-pointers. Makarri, Doggette, a great veteran on this Alabama gymnastics team, talks about not only her Alabama gymnastics career, but some of the work she's done in the community. Then we'll wrap things up by hearing from the head coach of the Crimson Tide men's basketball team, Nate Oats, as he joined Chris Stewart during Monday night's edition of Hey Coach at Baumhauer's. Taking a look first at basketball for the University of Alabama, men's and women's basketball. First of all, it was a busy weekend in Baton Rouge for both teams. On Saturday, the men's team picked up a 109-92 victory, and they did not have a game in the midweek this week. They'll return to action coming up on Saturday, 11 a.m. against Texas A&M. Don't forget the courtside cam streaming live presented by NASCAR starting around 20 minutes prior to tip-off, and we will have our coverage on the network start at 10 a.m. coming up on Saturday. And don't forget, the Crimson Tide will be wearing those throwback jerseys. Love seeing that released earlier in the week. Make sure you wear some throwback apparel to Saturday's game. Women's basketball also in Baton Rouge last Sunday fell to the Tigers 85-66 despite the 10-point lead at halftime. Very strong third quarter for LSU pushed the Tigers over the top. Speaking of Tigers, after no game on Thursday night, the Crimson Tide are home against the Auburn Tigers coming up on Sunday at 2 p.m. We look forward to having a courtside cam presented by NASCAR for that as well. Mention Crimson Tide baseball. Tomorrow starts the Rob Vaughn era. This weekend against the Manhattan Jaspers should be an outstanding three-game series starting at 4 o'clock, coming up tomorrow, 2 o'clock on Saturday, 1 o'clock on Sunday. Alton Davis II, preseason All-SEC team honoree, as we don't know just yet if he's going to be in the starting rotation or closing out games, but you can bet when the game's on the line, we will see Alton Davis II pitching well for the Crimson Tide. Also, it's going to be very busy on Saturday here at the University of Alabama, the men's game followed by the baseball game, so some parking reminders available on rolledtide.com for fans planning to come mostly for the baseball game coming up on Saturday. Softball team got started last week, and we really loved what we saw from Patrick Murphy's squad at the Buzz Classic in Atlanta, going a perfect 5-0, a win against Villanova featuring a no-hitter by Caleb Beaver in that ball game, and then a wins against Longwood. Georgia Tech closed out a great tournament. Also, Lauren Johnson, tremendous debut for Alabama as she was named the SEC Freshman of the Week. Now this weekend, we get to see the Crimson Tide at home at the Easton Bama Bash. Alabama will be hosting St. Thomas, Virginia, and Southern Indiana from Friday through Sunday. Look forward to being back at the Rhodes House. As final notes on Crimson Tide athletics, Ruben Banks named the SEC Men's Field Athlete of the Week after his weight throw was outstanding this past week. And then Doris Lamangole, a great time in the 5,000-meter race. She was named the SEC Women's Freshman of the Week. Gymnastics team not in action on Friday this week, but they'll return coming up at Texas Women's University in a quad meet coming up on Monday. Then the golf team, men's golf, really looking at alums. There are 3 alums for Alabama: Nick Dunlap, Justin Thomas, Lee Hodges, that are competing at the Genesis Invitational this week at Riviera Country Club in Los Angeles. Best of luck to those guys competing on the PGA Tour. Of course, here at the University of Alabama, right now, baseball on everybody's mind. Everybody can't wait to be back inside Sewell Thomas Stadium for the start of the Rob Vaughn era. He joins us this week to give us a full preview of Crimson Tide baseball in 2024. Coach, Roll Tide, it seems like a long time since you and I last spoke at the Malmore Athletic Facility when you were just introduced as Alabama's head coach. What's your mission been between then and now getting ready for the start of baseball season?
Man, it's wild. I remember that interview, man. I felt like things were going a million miles an hour that day. So things have calmed down, thankfully, a little bit now. But no, it's been great. I mean, we spent this fall, trying to do a couple different things. And number one, instill kind of the values, instill the pillars, the thoughts, the beliefs of who we are, but at the same time, really get to know some of these kids. I mean, this team, I know that lost a lot from last year's team positionally, but and we weren't stepping into an empty cupboard. There were some really good players here, and just as much as I think it's our responsibility to kind of introduce who we are and how we do things, it's also our job to learn these kids and get to know them, know what makes them tick, learn how they operate and how they learn. And so we spent a lot of time doing that, and man, we're ready to go. I think this group's prepared. I think it's going to be a long season. There are going to be some ups and downs, a lot of that stuff, but man, I'm ready to go unleash those guys on somebody else tomorrow. I think they're chomping at the bit to get going.
We're really excited to see what the Crimson Tide will look like. Part of your early charge was to build a coaching staff, and you are able to keep Jason Jackson from last year's staff, but you bring in Mike Morrison, bring in Anthony Papio. Just what is the message that this coaching staff has tried to instill to these players? What's the style you all want to play with?
Man, it's something that I've learned from a guy that occupied an office about 100 yards away from mine for the last 17 years, and listened to a lot of his press conferences. And I mean, Coach Saban did it better than anybody I've ever seen. I mean, I think we're going to talk about him the same way we talk about John Wooden. I think what he did and what he instilled in those guys transcends football. It transcends. It's a sporting thing of what do elite players do and how do they operate? How do elite teams behave? And I think that's what he taught over there. And man, the amount of stuff I've used from him over the last 17 years, even from afar, since I've been in coaching, just the idea of the illusion of choice, the idea of doing your job, the idea of the process, all these things that, man, I never knew I was going to have the opportunity to coach alongside that guy to an extent, I guess, in the same department. But man, just he's the best that's ever done it. And we've learned a lot from him. So I think when you look at our teams, you're going to, man, not on purpose, not because I'm at Alabama now, but it's just a lot of the same lingo you're going to hear. I think we talk offensively about this idea of the pack, and it's the identity of our group. The strength of the pack is the wolf. The strength of the wolf is the pack. And the strength of the individual is our team, and the strength of the team is you doing your job in that given moment and understanding what that is, understanding how to do that. And I think that's what young people crave, man. They want an identity, and we try to help give them that, not strictly as a hitter, not strictly as a pitcher, but just, man, like, who are you? What in your gut of guts, what do you stand for? And I think when you do that and you're authentic with them, you get the best version of them on the field. And I want a team, man, that's relentless. I want teams, and this is from a Coach Saban news conference, man. I want teams that the other team across there, when they see you on the schedule, it's like, yeah, man, like, whether they're hurt, whether they're not, whether they're talented or whether they're not, that is a team that I do not want to face, because I know when we get on the field at us, if they're on top of us, they ain't letting us up off the mat. And if they're behind us, they're not going to stop chasing us till that final out's made. And I think we got a lot of kids made from the right stuff in that locker room over there that are ready to go, and I think embody a lot of those by nature.
And certainly Evan Slight falls in that category. He's going to be wearing the jersey number 3 that goes along with the 3 pillars. If you could just explain the 3 pillars to our fans, and again, what made Evan Slight the right person to wear that number 3 jersey for this first year that you're in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I mean, we have 3 pillars in our program. It's ownership, toughness, and grit. Those are 3 things we talk about every day. That along with our mission statement, the mission of Alabama baseball, it's on the practice plan every day. You walk around the locker room, the lounge, there's signage going up. It's not just a motto for us. And I think too many times I see coaches try to make things fit, and they have these mission statements, but their players don't know it. It doesn't mean it. They don't live it in any way. It's just a cool thing that hangs on the wall in the locker room. And we want to be authentic and real. And so that's where it starts with us. So it started back in 2016. And ironically, I was the assistant coach at Maryland at the time. And Anthony Papio was on our team. And we kind of had the 3 pillars of the pack, is what we called it back there. And it was just kind of a hitter thing. And I approached our head coach at the time and said, man, coach, I got this idea. What do you think? He was like, sure. So I talked to Pap, who at the time was wearing number 13, and just pitched it to him. And he loved it and wore number 3. And man, the line of guys that worn it since then, it's really neat. And the guy that wore it after Pap's, an Army Ranger now, stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia, is just one of the elite special forces warriors in our country. And there's just a long line of that, man. And it's not the most talented. It's not your best player. It's not your highest draft pick. It's the guy that embodies ownership, toughness, and grit more than anybody. And so we go through a lot of things in the fall and trying to learn them. I think when you have a returning team, you have a pretty good idea maybe who's going to be what. But for this year's team, we didn't know. And very frankly, if we didn't have a guy that we thought embodied those, we just wouldn't hand out number 3 this year. And so we went through everything, and it was pretty obvious at the end of the fall. We passed out questionnaires to our guys talking about, man, who do we think embodies these pillars the most? I didn't say, who do you think the captain is? Who do you think this? Who embodies those 3 the most? And man, we had 45 surveys, and I think 45 of them came back with Evan Slight either at number 1 or number 2. And we felt like that as coaches. I mean, Ev had a tough fall, like didn't play great this fall and was getting settled, getting acclimated, but man, was the same guy, was the same teammate, was the same leader, never stopped moving. You fast forward, I think he hit 500 in the preseason now and is ready to rock. So great human, great kid, great teammate. We had Coach Murphy come talk to our team, very similar to what Coach Oats did a couple days ago, and was talking about, Mudita and what that means, and taking vicarious joy in the success of your teammates. And nobody embodies that more than Evan Slight. So I'm thrilled that he's the first one to wear it here at Alabama, and I hope 25 years from now we look at a really cool line of guys that have been able to wear number 3.
We certainly look forward to that. Did want to talk about your team as we get ready to start the season this weekend against Manhattan. And I want to ask you for a starting lineup or starting rotation, anything like that. But I would love to go around the diamond real quick and just kind of get your thoughts on your team, starting with the catcher position.
Yeah, I mean, we're very fortunate. I think our catching room's strong, man. Like, you got the leader, I think one of the best defensive catchers in the country, and Matt Gassetti coming back. You have experience. You have a lot of that. And Mac really has honestly made some strides. I know everybody talks about his defense, which is some of the most elite I've seen. But man, that guy's made some strides offensively and is going to hit probably 5-6 for us. Really important bat. Had a great fall, great preseason, is ready to go there. But you got Cam Guangarena right behind him, an experienced guy. Spent a couple years at Fullerton, finished last year up at Coastal Carolina. He's just experienced, man. Great teammate, great player. He's in his last year. Just a perfect guy to be able to back up Mac, or if Mac goes down with anything, to be able to step right in and plug away. And then I think behind him, you kind of have the future, in Luke Vaughn. And Luke Vaughn's going to be special, man. He is made of the right stuff. He's tough. He's grown exponentially as a catcher. He's clutch. He's everything I want in a guy. So that catching room is about perfect, because you have some veterans to open the door for the young pups, to get them in there a little bit, knowing that, and those have been conversations with Cam and Mac, like, that's the guy that's going to lead us into the future. So yes, you've got to be good, but you've got to prepare him to take the reins and run with it next year. And that catching room is pretty dang strong.
Then how about in the infield? We know there's some newcomers there, but also some good returners from a year ago.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty there, is I think we have options, which is great. There's no secret we're going to be a pretty left-handed heavy lineup, but there's a guy in Will Porter, there's guys in Mason Sweeney that add righty bats to that order. So I think the guys you're going to see on, Will Hodo's been elite at first base. He's done awesome, run off great at bats. Cade Snell's coming back from a little ankle thing, so probably won't be ready at the jump, but is going to add to that depth at first base, on the mound, and at DH. Man, can really hit. And he's my kind of kid, man. He's a tough kid, and he's going to be right in the mix there. And then I think when you look at the rest of the infield, we'll start Justin LeBron at shortstop. He's a young freshman from Miami. I think our coaches did a good job of kind of creating the opportunity where if he wasn't quite ready to start, we weren't going to thrust him into that role. But about a month into the season in the fall, I think we all knew, man, this is his spot. This is where he belongs. So we're going to run, Braun out at short from the rip. And then I think at second and third, you're going to see a host of some different players. Gage Miller's going to be in the lineup every day. It's just a matter whether it's third base or DH. But it's a right-handed batter that controls the strike zone, has thunder in his bat. Man, he's a fun one to watch hit. I think we always say, when you get Gage Miller in a fastball count, you better buckle up. So he's got a chance to be a really good one. Then I think in the other spots, like I said, I think you have the combination of Will Portera, Bryce Eblin, Mason Sweeney, Max Grant. He's got a lot of experience. Joey Rubin's right there in the mix. Same thing, played at a lower level, but's played in the World Series several years in a row at shortstop. So there's some options in that situation depending on what we need, And I think from the rip, you're probably going to look at Eblin and Miller at third, but I think you get a left-handed arm in there, being able to get Mason Sweeney in at second base, and then move Gage over to third, or move Eblin over to third and Gage DH is another option you have there. So I think we have some pieces, and my instructions to our guys, my comments to our guys is, man, I'm not playing the best 9. I'm going to play the 9 that fit the best. Which one do we need? And that might change. And so to me, I've got 4 weeks before Tennessee rolls into town to figure out, man, who's our pinch hitter, who's our righty matchup guy, who's our lefty matchup guy, where's our best defense, and to plug that in. But I think we're pretty fortunate to have some options there in the infield.
Then in the outfield, as you mentioned, you're trying to find that best 9. You only have 3 spots to fill in right field, center field, and left field. But again, so much talent on this roster out there.
No doubt, no doubt. And, I think that's we're probably a little too deep in the outfield, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, I've never had 9 outfielders on a roster, and I think we have 8 or 9 of them on our roster right now. But man, there's some good players. There's some really good ones, So we're gonna start with Ian Petrutz on the left. Ian came with me from Maryland. It's power, but it's a guy that controls the strike zone. He had a at bat the other day hitting in our 3-hole. There was a 10-pitch at bat, worked a walk against a really good arm. Just competitive, can hit. A name very familiar to people in this league, and TJ McCanson, center, is really, we thought we could really help him a little bit offensively, and I feel like he's made some real strides, and he's ready to go, man. He's confident. He's in a good place. He had a great fall, a great preseason. So he's got the ability to go man center field down there. And then obviously our captain, Evan Slight, there and right. Ev's just a veteran hitter, man. That guy just doesn't matter whether you throw him in the Cape, whether you throw him in the Big Ten, wherever you throw him, he seems to hit 320 with 15 homers. So just a guy that runs off a professional at bat there. And then you have 3 other guys that you're going to see hit a lot that are all outfielders, whether they're playing in the outfield, whether they're DHing, whether they're pinch hitting. But Camden Hayslip is going to be a special player, man. That guy's ready to go, and he might be a little slow coming out of the gate. Had a little weird thing with his thumb the other day, and he's feeling way better. He might be ready to go for Friday. He might not, but it's not going to be a long-term thing. He's in a good place. But man, then you're watching. He's had the talent for years, and I think he's starting to believe it. And that's what I tell him every day. Man, I think that's the most dangerous fastball hitter in America. You throw him a fastball and a fastball count, man, it ain't going to be fun for the other team. And so he's been awesome. Will Hamner, local guy, been around the program for years. Beautiful swing, professional at bat. You're going to see him either in left or DHing, pinch hitting, some of those options there. And then again, kind of the future out there is Coleman Mizell, kid from Hartsville, that's left-handed. It's power, it's strength, it's speed, it's command of the strike zone. And man, it's an intimidating at bat. That guy, I watched him turn around 101 at his letters the other day. I mean, he can just really hit. So yeah, I think those are some of the guys. I know I just gave you like 20 names, but I think that's a byproduct of, man, these kids have been good this spring. They've given us a lot of firepower, but a lot of pretty tough decisions to make over the next few weeks.
Yeah, speaking of tough decisions, same could be said for your pitching staff, whether it's determining starters for the weekend, the midweek games that are coming up, trying to figure out some bullpen roles. Who has you excited on this pitching staff to start the year?
I mean, it's got to start with Ben Hess, to be honest with you. I mean, having Hess back healthy, it's 95 to 100. The fastball goes straight up. I tell guys that all the time, man. Like, he can tell you a fastball's coming. It's still hard to get above that thing. It's a really good fastball. But he's not a one-trick pony, man. Like, it's 4 pitches. It's a breaking ball. It's a slider. It's a changeup. He can manipulate the slider to do some different things. I mean, I think it's got to start with Heater and what he can do. Riley Quick's been outstanding. I'm talking real good, like turbo sync at 99 with a 91-mile-an-hour slider. Much better feel for the slider than he had in the fall. So he's in a good spot there. And he's just as competitive as gets, man. That's an Alabama kid. His brother played football over here. Man, that guy's just an Alabama dude that loves to compete, and I love kids like that. Aiden Moza, Aiden's about as my kind of kid as it gets, man. It's the stuff is good. I mean, it's a 2 real breaking balls. It's 94, but man, that guy's got some killer to him. Like, he is competitive. He's mean. He's everything you look for in a guy right there. Obviously, AD's been outstanding. He's a guy that can do a lot of different things for us. Hagen Banks, same thing, competitive as it gets. But I think there's also some young guys coming. You have a guy in Pierce George who's a transfer from Texas that, man, when that guy goes in the game, everybody goes to the top step because it's going to be every bit of 99 to 101. And it's going to be a guy that's just continue to get better, continue to improve with JJ and what he's done. And then some young pups, and I think Zane Adams is going to be an absolute superstar for us. You have Jansen Kenty, who's got a chance to be really good. Matty Heiberger, Sam Mitchell, some of these young arms that may not be the guys in February and March, but I think are going to throw some huge inning for us in April and May as we kind of go on a run with this thing here. And again, are going to kind of be the future of what we got on the mound.
Certainly is exciting. And again, we're really fired up for opening day at the Joe coming up on Friday as you get to spend some time at home coming up in the first couple of weeks, then off to Frisco, and then one more home series before the Tennessee Vols roll in for the start of SEC play. Just what do you like about this non-conference schedule and how it'll get Alabama prepared for what starts in SEC play in March?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one, I think my wife may or may not like it, but I actually get to be home for 3 of the first 4 weeks where I'm not used to that. Usually we're on the road for all those, so we'll find out shortly if she loves that or not. But I think there's something comfortable with starting the year in your park. Now, I mean, Manhattan, I've played those guys. I know what they're all about. Those kids are going to have grit and toughness to them. I can tell you that. They ain't going to be scared walking into this place. And they're getting in here, getting some practices in. They got in last night, so they practiced last night. They're going to practice again after we're done today. So they're getting their work in, but I can the one thing I can promise you about them is there's going to be some grit, toughness, and zero fear from those guys. So I think the schedule just really lines up, man. You get to play some games at home. You get to play some games where you're comfortable sleeping in your own bed, getting that done. Then you really go play an SEC weekend in Frisco. I mean, with those teams, I mean, Indiana, I played Jeff Mercer teams for years. Those teams, they're tough. That's going to be an SEC lineup. Devin Taylor, I think, is one of the most special players in the country. Carter Matheson, I've hated trying to get that guy out for years. You talk about mean, that guy will hit a jack off you and tell you all about it running around the bases. He's awesome. I love him. But there's some dynamic offensive players, and there's always power arms. Then you look at Dallas Baptist and what Dan Heeper's done there. They've turned that mid-major team in Dallas into a powerhouse. And so you'll have your hands full there. And then obviously Arizona is just, you're going to get a very SEC type weekend, week 3, which is great. And then you get to come back home against a really veteran Lipscomb team, a team that returns a ton of veteran hitters. Has been in regionals, been in the postseason. And then you got Tony Vitello and the Vols rolling into town. So it's going to be an exciting time. I think the big thing for our guys, and our biggest thing, and it sounds like the most coach cliche thing of all time, but it's just being super present, because I think what's going to determine the success of this team is not our talent, is not how we even play from necessarily. I think it's going to be how do we take a punch. And the best teams I've ever coached can take a punch. They can get knocked on their behind one game and come back the next day and come ring the bell, and they didn't get knocked off. Their confidence didn't waver. That's going to be the biggest test for this group. And like I said, the best teams I've ever coached have the ability to do that at a high level. And that's what you want to see, because very frankly, you play so many scrimmages, you don't know. Like I say this, man, I think the character of your team's built in the fall and revealed in the spring. So it's going to get revealed over these next few weeks. And man, I'm encouraged to see what this team's capable of doing. I think they're ready. They're built to the right stuff. And man, I'm ready to go unleash those guys on college baseball.
We are certainly ready for it. So what begins with the background behind me in February, Sewell Thomas Stadium, we hope ends in the background behind you, Omaha and Nebraska. That is ultimately the goal of every college baseball program. Coach, we can't wait to start this journey with you and the Crimson Tide coming up tomorrow at Sewell Thomas Stadium. Just thank you for your time. We look forward to catching up again. Roll Tide.
Thanks, guys. Roll Tide.
Crimson Tide baseball starting this weekend. Also, the biggest race of the NASCAR season is here to start NASCAR season. It's the Daytona 500, the most iconic race in motorsports, returning this Sunday to Daytona International Speedway. 40 drivers will compete amongst the likes of Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain, and Bubba Wallace as they try to make their mark to start a historic NASCAR season. Be sure to watch the Great American Race this Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox and catch the entire new docuseries NASCAR Full Speed on Netflix to get an in-depth look at some of your favorite drivers. We continue on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, as we go from baseball to the hardwood, and we talk to one of the best for Alabama women's basketball in Aaliyah Nye. She's been leading the way for the Crimson Tide in terms of shooting three-pointers this season. Also, 87 made three-pointers on the year. That is the most by any player in the Southeastern Conference. This is the second year that she has played basketball for Alabama, and the last time we had her on the show was 2 years ago, describing her decision to transfer from Illinois to Alabama. So it's great to catch up once again with Aaliyah Nye and talk about the great things she's doing this season for the Crimson Tide women's basketball team. Aaliyah, your play is a big reason why. What's led to this being such a great season so far for the Crimson Tide?
I think just the team, we're well connected. We know each other really well on and off the court. I think the coaches have been putting us in positions to succeed, and we've just come in every single day and tried to work hard and just continue to just be who we are.
Have you seen this team really grow all throughout the season? Because you did have some returning pieces like you, Sarah Ashley Barker, Loyal McQueen from a year ago, but you get to blend that with some newcomers as well. How have you all come together?
I think just practicing together and getting to know each other on and off the court, like I said. I think we've slowly gotten to know like each other's game, and we've been putting that together. I think these last few games, you can see that we're starting to learn each other even more. And it wasn't easy in the beginning of the season, but I think as the season has come along, we have really gotten to know each other's strengths and weaknesses and what we're capable of doing.
Absolutely. And for you, a lot of that has been, of course, your outstanding three-point shooting, continuing to lead not only Alabama, but the SEC in three-pointers made. Let's just talk in general about shooting from beyond the arc. Have you always been a pretty solid three-point shooter? When did that really become part of your game?
I think in high school, I shot threes, but I wasn't just like a 3-point shooter. I think slowly in high school, though, my high school coach really helped me with my shot and my form. Every single day at practice, we would all work on our form. He made us put it in the shot pocket, extend, and then release. And then we would go to the free throw line and take one dribble, pull up, extend, release, and put it all together. So I think my high school coach really helps me with my shot. And just along the way of my like college career, I have become a 3-point shooter. So
any specific drills or anything, maybe, high school players are watching this wanting to know how they can be more like Aaliyah Nye. What would you say about developing a consistent, not just 3-point shot, but successful mechanics?
I think just repetition. Like I said, in high school, we used to just come in, we used to have it in our shot pocket, extend up and release at your highest point. So just practicing just that simple routine has really helped my shot. And then just shooting, like I shoot on the gun, just getting repetition and just keep like the same shot every single time and try to just focus on the base of your shot all the way up to the release of it.
Well, that was really important for Alabama just a week ago when the Crimson Tide were at Vanderbilt. I know things weren't necessarily going Alabama's way in the second quarter, but then you hit a couple of key three-pointers. First of all, how unique is it to shoot in Memorial Gymnasium? It's unlike really any other gym Alabama plays in.
I was telling everyone that I really liked the gym. It felt like it had more space because there wasn't benches on the sideline. They were on the baseline. So I really liked it. Honestly, I enjoyed that gym, playing in that gym. So
yeah, you shot the ball very well there. Again, helped
Alabama. I shot it well
back.
too. So
yeah, hit some great shots down the stretch, and that turned out to be a really special night. Alabama gets the win. Obviously, love that for what it means this season. But then you look at Christy Curry. That's the 500th win she's had at a college head coach. What did it mean to you to be part of that milestone? We all get to see the video of the celebration in the locker room. I'm sure that was a really special time.
It's amazing. Coach Chrissy is an amazing coach. She wants us to succeed on and off the court. She's just a great mentor. She encourages us. She wants to get to know us better as players and just as regular people as well. And I think it's great that we got this opportunity to get that win for her at Vanderbilt. And we just want to win for her. And like, she's just an amazing coach. And you can't say, I can go on and on about how amazing she is to us. Like, she wants us to win. She wants us to succeed. And we want to do the same for her.
Absolutely. And then you did a few days later against Tennessee, a great home game at Coleman Coliseum. What led to success against the Lady Vols?
I think we were all connected and we played really well together. We played great defense. Our bench came in, they produced for us, which is what we've been wanting. We put, I think we had 4 people in double figures that game. We just put an all-around Alabama game together. And when we can play like that, I feel like we can beat anyone. And yeah, I think everyone just played their game and we played really well together. We were really well connected.
How much pride have you taken in your defense this year?
I I love to play defense, honestly. People probably don't think that, but I love getting stops. I love just trying to get steals. I think defense really leads to offense. And when you can get that hype going on defense, it's easier to succeed on offense and just get that offense flowing too. So I try to do anything to help my teammates defensively.
I'm seeing some great results thanks to that. Looking at some of your teammates for just a minute, I want to throw out a few names and get your thoughts on them. Starting with Sarah Ashley Barker, what have you seen out of her this year?
She's an amazing leader. Not only does she do a lot of things for us offensively and defensively, she's just amazing vocally. She comes in, she competes every single day. She's a competitor. She wants to win. She does everything for this team, and I think she's just a really great teammate. She does everything defensively by taking charges. She guards people's best players most times. She guards people's 4 players, even though she might not be a true 4. Like, she's willing to do anything for this team to win. So I think she's just an amazing leader, and she's the key to this team.
How about Loyal McQueen?
Loyal McQueen, she has grown so much. She has become so vocal as well this year. She's very vocal. She controls this team. She's our PG. She's just an amazing person as well. She's so sweet and so nice. She has really had to step up because HB left this year, and I think she's done an amazing job.
And then we always love seeing a freshman make an impact. In essence, Cody has certainly done that right away here at the Capstone, taking over as a starter at the 5. What have you liked about her game?
She just comes in and she does what we need her to do. She's a freshman, so she has her struggles, but I think she is very level-headed. She doesn't really get too emotional. I think she just stays the course, and even when things aren't going her way, I know she's been in a lot of foul trouble this year. Like, she still just stays level-headed, and I'm just proud of her. And I know it's not hard. Like, this season has not been easy for her. But she still comes in every single day and just puts in the work.
So you're helping freshmen make that transition from high school basketball now to college basketball. Does it kind of blow your mind how fast that transition has happened from you being a freshman at Illinois to now being in your 2nd season in this program and being one of the true veterans on this team?
My college career has been fun. Like, it has definitely flew by pretty fast, and I'm just glad that I ended up here at Alabama. I love this team and I love this program. I love being here. And I don't want to take any day for granted because I know I don't have many days left. So
Yeah, we first had you on the show a couple years ago. Once you made that decision to transfer from Illinois to Alabama, just has it lived up to everything you had hoped it would be? How much have you enjoyed being a student athlete here?
it definitely has. I mean, my family, my sisters, they went here and they go here. So it's been cool just seeing my family more at my games. Obviously, Coach Christie, Coach Curry, Coach Roman, and Coach Tennille, like all the coaches that have been here. I really enjoy working with them. They're amazing coaches. And then the teammates that I have, like, are so amazing. Like, I love hanging out with them, not just like going to practice with them, but like we hang out all the time. And I just love the relationships that I've built here. And then just the environment on campus, like the sports is just a whole new level from my old school. Like, I love going to sporting events and supporting all the sports, soccer, men's basketball, baseball, softball. I think the environment here is really what I really like. So.
Well, have you brag on some of your friends from some other sports who have you become close with?
The soccer girls. I know we had Macy. She was on the soccer team this year. She's actually a senior, so she's going to be gone. But she was one of our interns for Coach Ash in the weight room. So we really got close with her, and we would go support them. And then just like men's basketball, obviously, we're around them all the time, so we support them. So yeah.
That's certainly good. You mentioned Coach Ashley Beaver. How much have you enjoyed getting to work with her, and especially in the off season, trying to transform your body to be ready to go for another year? Just how much have you enjoyed getting to work with her?
I always tell her that I hate lifting weights, but I do love the way that my body has transformed. She has really worked with us, and I think my body has changed drastically since I've been here. I've been in way better condition. I look better, I feel better since I've been here, and she's just an amazing strength coach. But I will always pick on her and say that I don't like to lift. So.
Well, good deal. Well, we're getting to a point of the season that Alabama doesn't have a game on this Thursday. You're back at it at home against the Auburn Tigers coming up on Sunday. And this is really now the stretch run, the closeout SEC strong, the SEC tournament, NCAA tournament after that. Just what is this group capable of in the next few weeks?
I think if we play the basketball how we've played the last few games against Tennessee and Vanderbilt, that we can really close out really strong. I think we have to stay together. I think just putting those games together and learning and still staying connected is really going to help close this season out strong. I know last season we did not end how we wanted to end, so we've been aware of that, and we just want to just keep steady and keep doing what we're doing and just playing together. And I think this team can make a great run, and even in the SEC tournament as well.
We're so looking forward to it. Well, Leah Knight, thank you so much for your time with us this week on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Really, all the best to you and the Crimson Tide moving forward. Thanks again. Roll Tide.
Thank you. Thank you. Roll Tide.
In the beginning was Daytona, the great American race. Every driver looking to be remembered. Every fan looking for something they'll never forget. Secure your seats now at Daytona 500.
We go from one great student athlete to another here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We appreciate the time from Aaliyah 9. Now it's time to talk with Makarri Doggette, a fifth-year senior on the Alabama Gymnastics team, was the SEC vault champion a few years ago, and continues posting great scores for Alabama into this 2024 season. She joins us to talk about not only her Alabama Gymnastics career, but also some of the work she's done here in Tuscaloosa and the community. I think you'll really find this conversation fascinating with Alabama Gymnastics, Makarri Doggette. Makarri, Roll Tide. How is this victory lap for you and your teammates going here in 2024?
It's going good. I mean, we've had our ups and downs, but who doesn't, but we've just been having the best time, and we've been working out what we need to work out, but we're doing it together, and that's all that matters. And we're just having a great time.
That's certainly good to see. And for you, that's included some good results on the uneven bars. And you've been a bars champion before throughout your career. Just what do you love about that event, first of all?
Yeah, I think I've always had a love-hate relationship with bars. It was never my favorite event growing up, but I was always injured on my lower body, like legs or ankles or whatever. So I always had extra time to do bars. So I got to learn to love it. And now I just get to transfer that out there and learn to have fun with it. And I've done that. So yeah.
Well, that's certainly good. And speaking of the bars as well, just kind of going through your routine, what are some of the thoughts you have when you're mid-routine? Is it all just about the next move, or is it trying to stay steady to a certain level? I mean, how do you organize kind of your thoughts when you're going through one of those tough routines?
Yeah. So I always try to ground myself the best that I can, because it is nerve-wracking in front of all those people. And I think we've worked a lot on what our cues are on each event. And for bars, I've had to work out what works for me. And I realize that the simpler I keep it in my mind, the better it's going to be. So just to not overwhelm myself in my head and just do what I know how to do every day in the gym. But for me, my main cue is on my first release move is just to get my heels down. And if that happens, and everything else just kind of flows the way it's supposed to. So if I just stick to that, I feel like everything else just gives me the confidence to keep going and just go with the flow, really, because you just have to go with how the bars are moving, and just go with the flow, really.
And we know that led last year to a great score at Kentucky when you got a perfect 10. Just how tough is it to compete on the road in gymnastics in general, and then what led to that great score against the Wildcats a year ago?
Yeah, I think it's always hard to go on the road and get used to the equipment so quick. We only get like 15 minutes on each event to figure it out. But I think we've all done a really good job with working on different bars in the gym so that that adjustment is easier and quicker once we get there. but yeah, being in Kentucky and getting that 10 was just a amazing feeling because it's close to home. So a lot of my family was there and they got to see it. And sometimes it's hard for them to get all the way here to Alabama because I'm from Ohio. So, so yeah, I had most of my family there and it just made it that much more special.
Well, that's certainly good. Speaking of your family, speaking of Ohio, let's talk about the start that you had in gymnastics. What was the initial spark to get in the gym?
Yeah, so my mom was a gymnast and she competed at West Virginia University. So my two older sisters were put into gymnastics too. And they loved it. So we kind of just all went on the train of, the little gym classes, the mommy and me classes. So we did all of that and we kind of just kept it going. We did a lot of sports growing up, but we just stuck with gymnastics because that's what we love the most. But yeah, it kind of runs in the family. And but yeah, that's how it kind of started. Just my mom being a gymnast, putting all her kids in it and seeing where it went.
What was the moment when you decided that gymnastics was the path for you, and you kind of shut other sports out, and then you're going to go down this road?
Yeah, so I did the elite route for a little bit. I homeschooled, I think it was fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. And that's kind of when I got serious with going that route. But we had 2-a-day practices and I was still doing track. And so I would do my 2-a-day practices at the gym and then I would go straight to track practice and then just kind of do that every day. But I think once I ended that journey, the elite journey, is kind of when I stopped all the other sports and I just focused in on gymnastics. I think I was about 12, 11 when that happened, when I stopped doing the other sports. But I knew always that gymnastics was going to be what I stuck with. I just like to do other things too.
Oh, led to a lot of success for you at the junior level, and then comes time for your college choice. You ended up picking Alabama again, a little bit further away from home. What went into your decision, first of all, to choose the University of Alabama? What stood out about Alabama at first?
Yeah. So for me, I was really young when the whole recruiting process started. I was starting to get letters when I think I was like 10. And I didn't understand what was going on. I was a baby. But I think it was my third year of level 10 is when I started taking visits and things like that. I went to Georgia. I always went to West Virginia just because my older sister ended up going there for gymnastics too. So I went there and then we had a meet in Atlanta. So we drove here to Alabama and to take a visit. And I got here and I was just like starstruck. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool. And I got the whole like going to Saban's office, wearing all of his rings and, the whole red carpet experience. And I was like, baby me, I was like, I want to go here, mom. And they made me wait like about a month to call and say that I wanted to come here and commit because I was so young. They wanted me to be sure. But I knew this is where home was and I stuck with my decision. And 5 years later, I got here. And then now 5 years later, I'm ending my journey here. So yeah.
Does that blow your mind? It's been 10 years. I mean, since
Okay.
that initial visit.
So crazy. It doesn't even feel real. I feel like I'm still a freshman sometimes, and sometimes I feel like I'm 60. Like it goes back and forth, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, what was the adjustment like going from the elite work or level 10 work to all of a sudden college gymnastics and then the Friday night heights environment that's created, especially in the SEC? We talked about it with Louisa last week. It's grown so much from the first time you guys got on campus to where it is now. I mean, it is such a spectacle each and every Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, from the elite journey to club gymnastics, just staying in JO and level 10, and then to here, it's all been different. Each level of whatever you're doing is going to be different, but I think that's the beauty of this sport. You get to experience so many different things that not a lot of people get to experience. But when I got here and Friday Night Heights and all of that stuff, I was like, I didn't even, because for me, I watched college gymnastics, but I didn't like understand like what that meant until I was here. And just looking up and seeing all those people cheering for you and your team, it was just like, whoa, like, because obviously in elite gymnastics, it's very individualized and it's very like, you don't have a team atmosphere. So getting to come here and have that team, that family, that home away from home is just so special. And it makes every meet that you have just that much more amazing. And you don't want to take it for granted because it does go quick.
It certainly does. And of course, your time at Alabama, a lot of great performances, of course, for the Crimson Tide at Coleman Coliseum and on the road with gymnastics, but in the classroom, great performances as well. What was your focus academically here at Alabama?
Yeah, I was a communications major and I minored in social work. It was the other way around for a little bit, but with social work, there was just the amount of like hours and work that you had to do all ended up falling on my practice time. So I had to make it my minor to be able to still do that. So, but I got my degree in that, and now I'm getting my master's in sports management. Because for me, I want to combine my social work degree and my sports management degree and make a nonprofit for people that, have had tough times or can't afford being in sports or anything like that. I want to be somewhere that they can go and play whatever sport they want to play and not worry about anything else but that, and just, have the experience that they deserve to have.
Well, speaking of some of the work you've done in the community, you got involved with the Verb Kind project with Haley Hunt. How did that come about, and what were some of the most important lessons you learned from that? I know you've written about that on rollside.com.
Yeah, so I always knew that I wanted to work with kids. I love kids, but I wasn't sure what that looked like. I knew it wasn't like anything medical or anything like that. I just knew I wanted to help in some sort of way. In my senior year, I went into the office to ask like just what my options were, what there was around here, because I wanted to do something. And he gave me Haley's contact to the Verb Kind. And right away, she invited me to go to the juvenile detention center here in Tuscaloosa. And I went, and we go in there and we mentored the kids, and we got to talk to them. They got to share their stories with us. And we just got to learn more about each other. And from then on, like, that changed my entire life, because that's exactly what I wanted. I never knew what that was until I experienced it. And I was so glad that I got to do that, and I got to see and learn more about myself and more about these kids and just what's going on in our systems and our communities. And yeah, so from then on, I've been working with them and just doing what I can for them, because I feel like there's always this outlook on kids that are in detention centers, like, oh, they're bad kids, but they're really not. You just have to listen to them and see where they came from and just how they got there. And so many of them were just like, when I get out of here, I'm going to get my degree. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And we made like vision boards and everything, just so they had that, I guess that anchor of like what they could look back on. Like, at one point I wanted to be here, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to keep my journey going that way. And I'm going to take the good paths, and I don't want to end up back here. So what am I going to do to make sure that doesn't happen? So that's kind of what we do. We go in and we help them with that. And so for me, on the outside part of it, that's kind of what I want to start with my nonprofit, is just a contact for them once they get out, just to have like point people they can go to and have that mentor in their life forever, and be able to, reach their dreams and know that they have people that support them and love them no matter what. So yeah, that's kind of what I do and where I want to go.
What were some of the interactions you had that really impacted you the most with that group?
Yeah, so the first time I went in there, I met this kid. His name was Jalen, and he was super quiet. He didn't want to talk to any of us, and I got paired with him. Well, actually, I chose to go get paired with him because I knew that there was something that he wanted to say. He was just really shy, or just didn't understand like why we were there, kind of just like bitter of like, who do these people think they are, like getting to come in here. But I knew that I might be able to get something out of him. So I sat by him and I was just talking to him, and he was super quiet at first. And I just kept talking and like trying to make him comfortable with me. And we started this project, and it was listing like people that are in their life, that are good to be in their life, that they've had problems with in the past. And then in the middle, it was just like a smiley face, a sad face, just kind of how they felt about having those people in their lives, or like what that was going to do for them later in life. And we started doing that, and he finally started talking, and I started asking him questions like, why is this person here? Why is it a sad face? And then he would explain it to me, and that kind of just got the conversation going. And it ended up being he wanted to be a race car mechanic, and he wanted to graduate high school, get his degree in college, and that was eventually what he wanted to do. He loves cars, and he wanted to work with race cars. And I was like, that is so cool. But it was just a process of the whole thing. Like, he really took it in, even though he didn't want to. And I think that was like my main kid that like changed it for me, because at the end he was like, you gave me hope, and I can see that you guys came in here for a good reason and the right intentions, and you guys love us no matter what. And that's what made me be able to talk to you and open up. So yeah, I think from then on I was just like, Jalen was the one that changed my life for sure.
Well, it's certainly good to hear about great work done by you with that group, as well as we talked with Louisa about going to the elementary school in Northport and talking with some Hispanic children as well. It's just kind of a small example of different things you all are doing kind of on your own, but together as a team this past year, getting to host the Be the Change Meet. How'd that come about? How meaningful was it to have that night at Coleman?
Yeah, I think me and Louisa, like a few years ago, we were just like, we want to have a Be the Change meet, or like a whatever that meet is, like an all-inclusive, like what can we do? Because that was around 2020, and a lot of the other teams were doing their version of it, and we're like, we want to do that. And we think that's going to be a really huge deal here. And we started like thinking and like, seeing what we could do, and we brought it to Ashley's attention when she became our head coach, and right away, like, she was on it and made it happen. And we couldn't be more grateful for that, because that's all we wanted at the end of the day, was just to see what could come to light and make sure that everybody had the platform to, uh, to show like what they care about and like the other things. Because Be the Change is like obviously not just one cause. There's so many causes like everybody brings to the table, and everybody gets to use their platform to use. So that's what's so special about it, is everybody gets to use their voice and just share different causes that mean the most to them. So
that was certainly good to see. And again, it's part of Coach Johnston's second year as the head coach of the Crimson Tide. You, of course, have been there through a coaching change, which can always be difficult. How have you seen her kind of navigate her first 2 years in Tuscaloosa, and how close is this team in year two?
yeah, I think she's done an amazing job, better than I think anybody could have. Coming into that situation is always hard. But the first year she was here, she made it her mission to know each and every one of us separately and individually, and just get to know us as people. So she knew kind of where to go from there, because obviously she had fifth years on the team, she had seniors, she had all of this, like so many things to learn in such a short amount of time. And she did that, and she made it her mission to do everything that she could possible to help change the culture and make it something that we wanted it to be. And I think we carried all of that, what we learned from her the first year, into this year with our team. And right from our team retreat, we knew that we wanted this team to be different and closer than ever, and just, be vulnerable with each other. And I remember we sat around the fire on our last night at our retreat, and we just all were just crying, pouring our hearts out, and just, getting as close as possible, but just being vulnerable. And that's something that I've never experienced. And it was just so special to see everybody feel comfortable enough to be able to do that. And I knew from then on that this year was going to be different, and it has been. And it's been the best way to go out, the best last year I could have ever asked for. And Ashley is a huge part of that, because she made it where we could be those people, and how to navigate anything that goes on. She's always that person we go to, like, what do we do? And she always is. She's like our second mom. Like, she always knows what to say, and she always knows what's going to help at the end of the day. So being able to learn from her and bring that into the team and how we lead the team has just been a game changer.
Well, she gets to rely on a really great senior class that, of course, includes you and also these other fifth-year seniors, grad students that came back for another season, getting to wear the crimson. I want to go one by one just a moment, talking about your fellow grad students, starting with Maddie Wallagora. What she meant to you and this team?
Yeah, so me and Maddie, we have grown up together, basically. We were both in Region 5 in our club gymnastics careers, so we always saw each other at meets growing up. And I remember when she committed to Alabama, I was already committed, and it was like, I think it was a couple months or a year later that she committed to Alabama, and we were so excited. And we just, I saw her at the meet, and we just bear hugged each other. But we've been on this journey from the start together, and it's been so special just to see each other grow, and just all the phases that we've been through. Just being able to be those point people for each other has just been so amazing and so comforting, just to know that you have somebody there who's been through it all with you. So
how about Ella Burgess?
Ella came into campus and just had this energy that I was just like, how does she just keep going and going and going? But it was so special because if you're down, she's going to be that person to pick you up, and she's going to be that person to have your back no matter what it is. And we actually lived together for 4 years. So she's my best friend, and I couldn't imagine anybody else here with me. And I was so glad when she decided to graduate early and come. And right when I found that out, I had her and Louisa in a group chat, and I was like, you guys want to live together next year? And that's kind of how it started. And yeah, but I really do think that she was meant to be in my life for a reason. And she just brings the most beautiful energy to every room that she's in. She always has a smile on her face, and it just makes you want to smile. And but yeah, I love her, and she's truly is my best friend.
All right, we go to the other side of the group text, Luisa Blanco.
Luisa Blanco. Yeah. Lou, we've been through a lot together, and I don't think that I could have done this with anybody else. She really does take the time to know each and every person. And I know for me, anytime I have any type of issue, she's always that person that's going to be there to have those conversations with, and just sit in our beds together and just either cry or just watch movie, do anything like that. She's just my sister, and I truly don't know where I would be without her today. Yeah, she really is my second family, down to her mom. Like, we went to Dallas this summer, and I got to see where she grew up and just everything. But yeah, I really do appreciate everything that she's done, not only for me, but for this team and for everything that she's given. Yeah, that's my sister.
You're certainly a great Alabama family. We've just heard you talk about, I mean, we talked earlier about your gymnastics family, with your mom being involved in sports, sisters as well. Just how do you lean on them? How do they support you all throughout your collegiate journey, your family?
Yeah, I mean, my dad, they always drive to Alabama. They never really fly because they both all have different schedules where they have to get back. And so my dad will drive here Friday morning at like 3 a.m. He'll get here in time for the meet. He'll watch the meet. We'll go eat or do whatever after the meet, and he'll drive right back. So he'll do that whole drive in 24 hours just to make sure he's there for my meet. Just because with his work schedule, it's just he can't stay any longer than that. But he's also just always been that person that I can go to if I'm like having a hard day. We are very similar minded. So he always understands like what I'm trying to say, even if I can't say it myself. He's always that person. But he would do anything for me for whatever hours it is in the night. He'll do that 10-hour drive anytime, any day. And it does just mean so much to me, because sometimes I'm just like, I'm homesick. I want somebody here, and he'll be on his way in a heartbeat. It won't even be a question in his mind. So that's my dad. And my mom, she's a gymnastics coach. So they've always tried to line up their schedules with our schedules. But this year just hasn't been lining up. Like the week before, or she was in Texas last week. We're going to be in Texas this week. And then last time it was Florida. She was there the week before, and it just wasn't lining up. But she's always that first person to text me on meet days. Happy meet day. I love you so much. All that matters is that you have fun no matter what. And she's always that person that's going to, if I wake up sad or anything, or just like a little bit tired and I see that text from my mom, it just always changes my mood. But she always does her best to make sure that she's there for everything that she can be there for. She'll be here next week, so I'm excited to see her. But yeah, they both go above and beyond for me. And I couldn't be more thankful, because I wouldn't be here, obviously, without them being here for me on that journey. And yeah, same with my sisters and my brother. My brother plays football at Ohio University. My older sister, she lives in Iowa. So every time we go to Missouri, her and her family, her 4 kids, they come and watch. My other sister, Jayla, she was just here last week. They all just go above and beyond for me. And it means so much, because it is hard sometimes. And just to know you have that behind you is just a game changer.
That really is good. Outstanding support you get both from your family overall, and then of course your family, as we always call it here in
I have
Alabama.
so many family like members that come to my meets all the time. I'm just like, I love you guys so much. They'll make posters because they know like my mom or dad can't be there for every meet, but they will always show up. And I just love them. Gabby's parents, like, they always text my mom, like, we're here for her, like, because my mom always gets so sad. But everybody make sure that she knows that I have people there for me still. So
That's really special. And of course, they're
Yeah.
all rooting you and the Crimson Tide on as we continue going through this journey here this spring. And as we wrap things up, just what is this group capable of? What can we expect from the Tide down the stretch here in 2024?
We're capable of so much, and you've seen a lot, but you haven't even seen anything that we're capable of. We still have room to grow, and we still have room to put everything together and just be that unified front that just comes in and just, we always say shut it down. That was Amelia's little thing. She's like, shut it down, and we're like so close to doing that. But we're just letting it go and just seeing not putting so much pressure on the outcome, but just doing us and just doing what we know how to do and silencing the outside distractions and all of that stuff. And I have a good feeling coming up, but I just know that we all want it so bad. And we're doing everything in our power to be able to do that. We literally submerged in a cold tub yesterday just to, because it helps with like mental toughness and just all the outside distractions. Like, how are you going to focus in, knowing how cold you are, knowing everybody around you screaming, there's music blaring, but like, how are you going to find what makes you grounded? And that's what we've been doing. We've just been training our minds so hard because our gymnastics is there. It's just, we got to, hone in on what's going to make each of us individually the best version of ourselves. So yeah, I'm excited. We have a lot to come, and yeah.
We're all looking forward to it. We're going to be rooting you on the rest of the way. Makarri, Doggette, just thank you so much for your time with us this week on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Really all the best for you and the Crimson Tide coming up. Roll Tide.
Thank you. Roll Tide.
This weekend, the Great American Race is finally here. Don't miss the Daytona 500 this Sunday at 2:30 Eastern on Fox, and make sure to check Netflix's new docuseries, NASCAR Full Speed, to get an in-depth look at some of your favorite drivers before they take on Daytona. Before we say goodbye on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, we wanted to hear from the head coach of the Crimson Tide men's basketball team. That is Nate Oats, as Alabama men's basketball and women's basketball both did not have a game on Wednesday or Thursday this week. So when we talked to Nate Oats at Baumhower's Victory Grill on Monday during Hey Coach, he was getting ready for what's coming up, a very busy stretch for Alabama men's basketball, starting on Saturday morning against Texas A&M. Here's a replay of that conversation with Chris Stewart interviewing Nate Oats at Baumhower's Victory Grill. There's even a phone call from Pee Wee coming up. That's coming up in just a second here on our Nate Oats Hey Coach replay interview.
Baumhower's Victory Grill. I'm Chris Stewart, joined by the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide men's basketball team, Coach Nate Oats, the first place team in the SEC along with South Carolina. Always good to see and always great to be able to talk about the Tide atop the SEC standings, Coach.
Yeah, it was a good weekend for us. We got the win. We got a little help from some other teams, so we're back in first place. Not quite by ourselves yet. We need to keep winning some games and get a little bit more help and get back in first place by ourselves.
I know you're still relatively new to the state, but it is year 5. You probably understand this. I grew up here, and we referred to days like Sunday as sprint days. Means Alabama won on Saturday, Auburn and Tennessee lost, and on Sunday morning you sprint out into the yard to grab the newspaper so you could read all about what had happened the day before when that occurred. So that it so happens it actually really helps because you're in first place in the league right now.
Oh, no, we needed it. Shoot, we needed Auburn to take the loss after our game with them, and we needed Tennessee to take an L, and now South Carolina and Auburn play each other midweek, so do we want more separation between us and Auburn, or do we need – it's hard to pull for Auburn, isn't it?
I was going to say, in that regard, it may be best for South Carolina to lose, but the basic core premise that it's never a bad day when Auburn loses, I think also factors in if it goes the other way. So in essence, you can't lose in that regard. But in all seriousness, it's too early to watch standings, Coach, with so much left to play. But you also are not one that's ever shied away from what is in front of you. And you made the statement Saturday before the ball game in Baton Rouge, if you don't win, it's going to be very tough to win the league title just because of where that matchup would fit in the grand scheme relative to what's left on the schedule.
Yeah, no, we've got some tough games left, and we got 7 games left. You think about who we have left. We've got 4 home games left, starting with A&M. But we got A&M, Florida, Tennessee. A&M's won 5 of their last 6. Florida's won 5 of their last 6 games. Tennessee handled us pretty well at their place. And then we closed with Arkansas, who's got enough talent to be competing for the league championship, even though it hasn't shown up in the win column yet. But, those are 4 really tough home games. Then we got to go on a road we have to go to Florida, to Kentucky, and to Ole Miss. So we don't really have too many easy ones left on the schedule. So, and, we've got people, obviously, who are tied with South Carolina, and they're playing really good basketball. And then we got, a couple teams, 2 teams right behind us in the loss column by only 1 game, and Tennessee and Auburn. And then I think there's 3 or 4 more teams, 2 games behind us in the loss column. So, there's lots of teams right on our tail, and we're going to have to just go out and take care of business.
And it's always Pee Wee down in Grand Bay right out of the gate. Go ahead, Pee Wee.
Hey, Coach, how are you this evening?
Doing great, Pee Wee. How you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. I'll be doing even better come Saturday because I will be in Coleman Coliseum to watch this game coming up against A&M. But
there you go.
The question I wanted to ask is, after the loss to Auburn, we had a very short turnaround time, and then for the team to come out the way and play that they did down in Baton Rouge was just excellent to see. It was neck and neck all the way till midway or so. 4 or 5 minutes left in the game when we pulled away and went on a 26-4 run, I believe was correct. And we got a really, really tough game against a team that played Tennessee really, really well. So I'm just wondering, what, besides the home crowd, I always know that defense is number one. How hard is that going to be to get up against these guys again and not have a letdown like maybe, sometimes happens?
Yeah, and we have not particularly played well against A&M since I've been here, though the game in the SEC tournament last year was pretty good for us. But, they've caused some issues just with their defense and other things. I think the biggest key in this game, 2 biggest keys are going to be, can we rebound the ball with them because they're number 1 in the country in offensive rebounds, and can we take care of the ball where we don't turn it over? Because, they've got 2 really good guards in Wade Taylor, and he's slipping my mind. He's actually really good. He just had 27, but they're bad. We haven't got into the A&M scout yet. We've been more concerned with ourselves. Tyrese Radford,
right. Player of the week.
Yeah,
in the league.
yeah. No, he's really good. So they've got a really good backcourt with Taylor and Radford, and they're going to make some tough shots, but they're also going to take a lot of tough ones, and they're okay with it because they go get over almost 45% of their misses. So we're going to have to do a great job on our defensive glass. We play a small lineup a lot, so we're going to have to do a really good job on the defensive glass, and then we're going to have to take care of the ball. Because I think if we don't turn it over and give them points off our turnovers and we can rebound the ball, I think we can do a good enough job stopping them. Our first shot defense will be all right. We got to take care of those 2 guards, obviously. But outside of that, they've really got a lot of guys that just go get it off the glass. So defensive rebounding, taking care of the ball, those are the 2 big keys going in this game.
Coach Nate Oats, your team played so well against LSU, especially down the stretch, to pull away in that ball game. But now you got Texas A&M. Talk about the week and how the fact that you don't play on Wednesday affects the schedule right now.
Yeah, we did it a little bit different. We typically you play Saturday, you get Sunday off, you prep Monday, Tuesday for Wednesday's game. And then prep Thursday, Friday for Saturday's game. This is the first time since I've been here that there's been a bye in the middle of conference play, which isn't bad. I kind of like it. Kentucky took their bye and scheduled a non-conference game with Gonzaga. I kind of like having a week between games. You can kind of, in the middle of conference play, focus in on what you really need to improve on without having to prep for another game. So we didn't do any A&M prep at all today. We didn't look at it. We're going to touch on it tomorrow some. But what we did is, our defense is not where it needs to be. We showed them a lot of numbers, a lot of stats, what we got to focus on. And we tried to take a practice, and really every drill we did all day was just on defense. I hope it shows up with little bit better defense on Saturday against A&M. Tomorrow we're going to do a lot more defense and then some special situation stuff that you don't always have time to do when you're prepping for a game all the time. We're going to start the A&M scout. We're going to give them Wednesday off just to try to get their legs fresh for a run. And then, we'll have a typical Thursday, Friday. Although usually when you play Wednesday, we don't go live Thursday. We'll actually go live Thursday since we gave them Wednesday off.
All right, Coach, let's head to Florence. JT, you're next up with Coach.
Yeah, hey, good evening, Coach. I don't know how much of the women's game you get to watch, but they play quarters and the men play halves. But if you just kind of give us a difference, how you do your timeouts, just if there's any kind of different strategy between going halves and quarters. And I appreciate it. Thanks.
I mean, like everywhere else except for men's college basketball has quarters. The NBA, Europe, women's game, high school. So it's a little different. I'm not quite sure why we still go halves, but I mean the strategy, you end up with less kind of special situations, 2-for-1s, end of clock situations. That's about it. I mean, there's you've got the immediate timeouts that you kind of have. I don't if they went to quarters, it'd have to be 10-minute quarters like the women's, and they'd have to. I don't know if they lose a media timeout. You don't want to do that because that's where a lot of the money comes from is advertising. So I don't know if that's why they haven't gone to quarters yet. But I don't know. I mean, other than you just have a few less special situation type plays, it's probably not a big difference, to be honest with you.
Looking forward to seeing him. Looking forward to see your entire squad on Saturday, Coach. Big day, Texas A&M coming in, looking for another great crowd, and hopefully that'll be the case. Always appreciate your time as well.
Yeah, we got an early one. I think they moved it to ESPN. So hopefully we can pack that place out like we've been doing. So if we can get all your friends out, anybody listening, make sure we get out. Let's make sure we got that place packed out Saturday morning.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Chris. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Coach Nate Oats with us here on Hey Coach, presented tonight by CB&S Bank. Bank anywhere at any time with CB&S Bank's digital solutions.
One of our great partners here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network is Visit Tuscaloosa. Visit Tuscaloosa, your go-to resource for all things Tuscaloosa. Check out their events calendar online at visittuscaloosa.com. It's going to be a very busy time coming up here in the next few weeks and few months here in Tuscaloosa. And you can find out more information by going online again to visittuscaloosa.com. Now it's time to see what's coming up here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, and it's going to be a very busy weekend. Luckily for us, all really at home here in Tuscaloosa. Let's check out what's coming up on our upcoming schedule, thanks to our friends at Wickles Pickles. They are wickedly delicious. We always have them with us on set for each and every episode of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Go online to WicklesPickles.com to find out how you can make Wickles Pickles part of your Alabama game day tradition. Let's see what's coming up across the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Again, women's basketball off tonight as they'll return coming up on Sunday against Auburn. But coming up tomorrow, a busy time with not only softball, but also our television shows that we'll have. Nate Oats Show and Tide TV this week. The softball team will be hosting the Easton Bama Bash against St. Thomas and Virginia. The baseball team will be taking on Manhattan starting at 4 o'clock. And we will have a booth cam coming up for Alabama's opening day in baseball. Courtside cam presented by NASCAR coming up on Saturday for Alabama against Texas A&M in men's basketball. Radio coverage starts at 10 o'clock across the network, and then coming up that day, it'll be softball against St. Thomas and Virginia. Then on Sunday, busy as well for women's basketball as Alabama takes on the Auburn Tigers at 2 o'clock, and softball wrapping up the Easton Bama Bash at 1 p.m. And then we just heard Nate Oats on Hey Coach. He'll be joining Chris Stewart again coming up on Monday night for Hey Coach from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa, and even that's before midweek baseball next week. Basketball, again, we have a very busy time coming up here in Tuscaloosa, and make sure you're following us on all of these social media accounts for the absolute latest on the Crimson Tide. A lot of unique clips coming out this weekend as we cover Alabama athletics. That's your upcoming schedule, thanks to our friends at Wickles Pickles. And that's going to wrap up a jam-packed edition of Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR. We've loved our guests that we've had this week, starting with our student athletes, Aaliyah Nye and Makarri Doggette, and then the head coach of the Crimson Tide baseball team, Rob Vaughn, who is going to be joining us a lot throughout the spring here on Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR. Great insights on Alabama baseball prior to tomorrow's opening day for the Crimson Tide at Sewell Thomas Stadium. We thank you again for watching this edition of Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR. Thanks to Ethan Carabin, our video producer, who put it all together. And now let's get out to not only Sewell Thomas Stadium, Rhodes Stadium, how about Coleman Coliseum? It's going to be a great weekend here in Tuscaloosa, and we certainly hope you can join us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Until then, so long, everyone.